Welcome to a Mass Bio Ed Career Ambassador Spotlight interview. I'm Carla Talanian. I'm the Director of Talent and Workforce Development for Mass Bio Ed. And with me today is Manny Lazaro, who is working in clinical operations at Jounce Therapeutics. Thank you, Manny. I'd like you to maybe start off by talking about Jounce. Jounce is focused on developing therapeutics for cancer treatment and particularly on enabling a patient's own immune system to attack tumors. Can you explain what that means for our audience?
Yeah, so cancer immunotherapy is a treatment that empowers a patient's own immune system to fight the cancer. Immunotherapy works to harness and enhance the natural powers of the immune system to work against the disease by recognizing, targeting, and eliminating cancer cells throughout the body.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And tell me what you do there. What's your role at Jounce?
So my role there, I am the head of clinical operations and data management at Jounce Therapeutics. And that role is responsible for the planning and execution of clinical trials.
All right, let's provide a little bit of context. Can you explain the clinical trial process, how a drug is actually brought to patients?
Yeah, so before drugs can get to the market, like aspirin or Tylenol, they have to go through what's called clinical studies. Clinical studies are studies done in humans. So before it's approved by FDA here in the US, they're the regulatory body that approves drugs. And they have to go through these series of clinical trials. So we're testing them in patients to first confirm that they're safe. That's first and foremost. And secondly, we want to confirm that it works for its intended purpose. So for example, if Johnson & Johnson wants to make a claim about Tylenol curing headaches, then Johnson & Johnson has to prove that Tylenol is not only safe, but effective in treating headaches.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
So with Jounce Therapeutics, we're developing an immunotherapy that's targeting solid tumors like lung cancer, breast cancer, gastric cancer, as examples. And what we're trying to do is shrink or eliminate those solid tumors so that patients can live longer and even be cured of the cancer.
Mm-hmm. And is this a personalized treatment, that it's a unique treatment for each individual patient?
Yeah, and that's part of our vision as well too at Jounce, is to find the right therapy. What we say is right therapy for the right patient. So in other words, using a lot of scientific information such as their genetic profile, and we understand the target for our drugs. We target specific immune cells in the body, mm-hmm. so that there are certain tumors that will respond to the ability to fight the cancer using that approach.
Uh-huh. So in your role, can you describe a typical day in your life?
Yeah, there's no 2 days that are exactly the same. And I have to first say that after doing this for many, many years, that I still love my job. It's an exciting field because I've had the pleasure of working on some very innovative and new therapies that either help improve the quality of life for people or even save lives for people. So that in and of itself is very, very rewarding. Mm-hmm. So I'm responsible now for a department. So we plan clinical studies, we execute to the clinical studies, and we generate that data that we have to submit to FDA to get approval. And so my team is responsible for that. So it's an office-based position, and there's some travel involved, but most of it is in the office, in the meetings for planning, or in front of my computer, doing various planning. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And problem solving as well too, because a lot of what we do is unknown. And because it's research, so we learn along the way. So we do our best to try to prevent those risks from happening by doing some really good planning.
Mhm.
So Albert Einstein has a famous quote that says that it wouldn't be called research if we knew what we were doing. So
Right.
you may have heard that one, but essentially that's what we do with our experience. We try to do the best we can in planning and preventing problems or roadblocks in the future, but nonetheless, it's research. So we're learning along the way, and sometimes we come across challenges that we have to overcome. So if you're into problem solving, really like that part of things that you do today, it's really a good field to be in.
Excellent. So can you describe your own career path? How did you get where you are today?
Yeah, I took an unconventional career path. After high school, I actually joined the U.S. military. I was in the Air Force for 4 years. And in high school, I was always interested in the body system and in the life sciences. And I thought I always wanted to work in a hospital or in the healthcare industry. So I joined the military, and my job in the military was setting up mobile hospitals, specifically operating rooms. So during my career, I actually was stationed in a hospital, working in the operating room, assisting surgeons with a variety of surgical specialties.
And at that point, you had just a high school diploma.
A high school diploma, yeah, just a high
Okay.
school diploma at the time. So I was enlisted. So if you look at the military, there's the enlisted um, ranks, which is those with a high school degree, at least a GED, and then an officer who has a college degree, at least a bachelor's degree, would be considered an officer. So I was an enlisted person. So there's that segregation between an enlisted and an officer, and I quickly realized that the difference between officer and enlisted was a college education. So after a year or two, I was on a path to to be able to at least be at the level of an officer and
Mhm.
pursue my college degree. So in the military, I was in the operating room. So I got 4 years of experience working in an operating room, looking in assisting different surgical types. But I ended up specializing in orthopedics. And when I got out of the military, I pursued my undergraduate degree in biology, pursuing life sciences. And when I completed that, I was considering graduate school. And then at that time, there was a job fair being advertised by one of the early biotech genetics institute. And there must have been 200 jobs they were posting. It was really eye-catching in the Boston Globe. So I started scanning through it because I had a science background. And there was one called Clinical Research Associate. Never heard of it before, but the job description was perfectly suited for me. They were looking for somebody with operating room experience, somebody with a biology degree, somebody who liked to travel, somebody who liked working on teams. So I applied, and I got the job, very entry level, and then just worked my way up from there, taking on jobs of increasing responsibility. And now I've been running departments for the last several years.
Wow, that's fascinating. And just you mentioned how you have a big team that works under you. Can you describe a few typical roles of your team members?
Yeah. So within the field of clinical research, there's a diverse team of specialties that work, to support these clinical trials. So I work with physicians, medical physicians, who help plan and design the clinical trials, and also ensure that we're monitoring safety of the patients enrolled in our clinical trials, because these drugs or devices that are in clinical trials are considered investigational by the FDA, so they require very close safety monitoring. So having physicians evaluating the data on a real-time basis is essential. In addition, I work with biostatisticians. So if one likes math, there's that path, and there's a tremendous need for biostatisticians in our field who are part of the design of the clinical trials, and also with the analysis of the data before it's submitted to FDA.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
addition, on my team, I work with clinical trial managers who are project managers, and who manage the clinical trials. They're part of the planning and the execution of the clinical trials, working with clinical research centers all over the world who treat the patients, and they need to follow what we call a clinical protocol and to ensure that it's being followed in accordance with the clinical protocol.
Um,
In addition, we work closely with the scientists because we're generating data, and the scientists take that data and going back to, I said earlier about Jounce, trying to find the right therapies for the right patients, that taking that data and we learn more and more about the drugs that we develop on maybe some indicators or what we call biomarkers that might predict which patients may do better on your specific therapy. So it's called targeted therapy or precision medicine.